Welcome to this installment of Infusion, the Multicultural Christian Leadership Initiative. Together, we strive to build stronger multicultural relations throughout our communities.
Hello. The episode you're about to watch introduces you to the thriving and integrated Spanish ministry of Sugar Creek Baptist Church in Sugar Land, Texas. Enjoy it, embrace it, and please share it with others. Blessings to you in Christ Jesus.
Today, we are discussing the history and inspiring growth of one of the largest Spanish language ministries in Houston, Texas. I'd like to begin by getting a basic description of your multicultural ministry.
Well, our Spanish ministry started back in 2006, and it was really the result of the vision of our lead pastor, Dr. Mark Hartman. He likes to tell the story of the time that he was at a Denny's restaurant here in the Sugar Land area. And he was going in the restaurant and he saw how multicultural the restaurant was. And all of a sudden, it was almost as though God was talking to him and saying, "Why isn't your church like this?"
Wow.
And so from that point on, his prayer was, "Lord, help us so that our church would become multicultural." So back in 2006, God placed a burden on our pastor and our missions pastor, Don Waybright, to launch a Spanish ministry, knowing the high percentage of Hispanics that are in the Houston area and surroundings. And so when it started, it was the idea that the Spanish ministry would not be a separate congregation. It would not be a mission like has normally been part of other models in other churches, but that it would be fully integrated into the life of the church, that it would reflect the same DNA of the church, but it would be contextualized towards reaching the Spanish community.
Wow, and how do you navigate the challenges of two different languages in the same congregation?
It's not easy, but it's something that takes an entire team. And it really, for me, the key is that it has to come from the top down. It has to come from the vision of the pastor as he leads. Because whenever you're trying to integrate two different cultures, it's more than just a culture, it's more than just a language. There's a lot of things that are implicit in this model. And so that also means that there has to be a lot of changes because you cannot do church like you've done in the past. And for churches that have taken this approach, especially back in 2006 when we were starting, there weren't a lot of churches that we could look at. We really were kind of at the cutting edge of a model that was trying to integrate two different cultures. Wow. And so a lot of this was trial and error, but most of all, it was the grace of God that was leading us through this process.
How has the Spanish-speaking congregation integrated into other operations or operational aspects of Sugar Creek as a whole?
Well, the idea is that when we are serving, we don't serve just a Spanish congregation. I think Hector can speak into part of this, but like in our tech ministry, we have people that serve English and Spanish services. We have deacons not for the English service or for the Spanish service. We have deacons that serve the entire church. So the mentality is that we don't try to create silos as we're volunteering. We don't create silos as we're thinking about programs and ministries, but we're looking at ways that we can serve both congregations as one church.
We just had, not too long ago, a serve rally, which it involved everyone who's serving at Sugar Creek Baptist Church. It was just beautiful to see people from all nations. And then our Spanish ministry, people that are serving, they were able to see, beyond the Spanish service and see what's going on. So it's something that we have to be working on constantly, because it's easy to just focus in our area or what we're doing, but when you see globally, and not just what's going on here at the Sugar Land campus, but we have a Mysterious City campus, and we're launching another campus, so that even it just takes you to even think more globally. So it is a challenge, but it takes a lot of intentionality about thinking one church.
When we started the Spanish ministry, our pastor made the case as far as why it made sense to start a specific Spanish ministry and say not an Asian ministry or an African ministry, and it's the language factor that you can only find in the Hispanic culture that doesn't necessarily translate to other cultures. So for example, even if you take, let's say we wanted to start a service to reach people from India, one of the things that we would have to answer is, what language are we going to use? Because India is made up of so many different dialects. Same thing with Chinese people. Or if we did something for Africa, we have different languages in the African continent, but with Latin America, it just made sense to start a Spanish ministry, the language as really the commonality, because among countries there's a lot of cultural differences, but one thing that joins us together is the language. So because of the history here in Texas and the great Hispanic population as far as size, it just made sense to start a specific Spanish ministry. But all of the other cultures are united in English, but it's really part of who we are. The same DNA is transferred to anyone from any part of the world. And it really was like the first step of becoming multicultural, which, by the way, has been a dream come true for us, because when you come to Sugar Creek on a Sunday, it's kind of like a United Nations gathering. There are people from all over the world,
Wow.
Asia, Africa, Europe, all over the world.
Infusion is a collaboration of various Houston area churches, parachurch organizations, and the College of Biblical Studies.